This video is not intended for anyone 13 or younger. Hello viewers and welcome back to another My Hero Academia chapter reaction, and I know I'm a week late, but hopefully I can make up for it this week. And yeah, today we're starting a new chapter for My Hero Academia with chapter 296 and in the beginning of 2021. And yeah, 2020 yeah, 2020 was basically a huge crap show with the whole COVID virus coming around and ruining everybody's year. Unable to see movie theaters and films and blah blah blah. You get, everybody gets our picture. So, and for today's chapter, we have chapter 296 and a bit of a recap for those who are just joining in. In chapter 295, we had Shigaraki, who was basically possessed by the spirit of All for One, basically making his getaway with a swarm of high-ends, and we will have, and also that Dobby and Spinner and Skeptic escaped along with Shigaraki, so they basically escaped, and now they're still with Shigaraki at this time. Toga has not been found because they basically forgot to get Toga, who was basically still good. And the ones they left behind, that Mr. Compress, is basically dying on the floor after going through a big revelation that, yeah, Mr. Compress has been the last of the old generation of the Perilous Thief, the great-great-grandson of the Perilous Thief. And with all that bonkers madness from throughout December, what happens in basically the aftermath of this? I do know a few heroes have died, and we don't know who's died, so we'll have to make our final count. And this is mostly basically the aftershock of the entire arc that took up the whole year. So with that in mind, let us dive into chapter 296 now. And before we start, don't forget to wash that hands with sanitizer. I know we're pretty close with the vaccine, but keep up the good work on keeping your house quarantined and wash those damn hands. And let's dive in the chapter. Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It only takes 2 simple clicks. Click, click. Enjoy the episode. Okay, we have our normal chapter. No cover page. We do have the logo of My Hero Academia. Chapter number 296, which is entitled Hellish Hell, as probably what's after the aftermath of all this war arc happened. Written by Kohei Horikoshi, translation by Cabal Cook, and lettering of John Hurt. As always, as we start off with the first panel on the first page, we see basically what's left of the aftermath of the entire arc. Seeing the whole city in ruins, and hopefully it'll all be rebuilt one day and it'll thrive again after this whole war arc. And we get text dialogue boxes basically saying, in the aftermath, the frontline survivors, as we see pretty much a flashback of Shigaraki, and the narrator continues saying, and those who rushed to the front line after completing their evacuation and rescue duties. As we move on to the next page, as we see 3 faces that we thought they were dead, but no. We see Pixie Bob, Wash, and 13 still alive after all that, implying from the pages. Yeah, I thought those 3 heroes died during the whole Shigaraki waking up and dropping his first corruption wave, killing all those 3. But according to the chapter, no, they survived. And we know that this is survivors because we see President Mike, who we saw last time. He was with the Mad Doctor, and he was able to bring the Mad Doctor to arrest him, and he is basically locked up. So so one of the pussycats, Wash and 13 are alive, and we do get a little look at 13. I thought 13's we do get a partial reveal of 13's face, but I thought for the longest time 13 was basically a giant black hole, and basically 13's entire spacesuit is to contain the black hole event horizon, so it doesn't suck everything in. Like, and my best thought of who I think the closest to 13 when I first saw her, Captain Atom, that if you break his containment suit, then yeah, he goes boom. And also we see some of the high-end Nomus running away from other heroes, trying to destroy the swarm, as we get more dialogue saying, all joined forces to stop Shigaraki from escaping. As we continue, we get a flashback of Shigaraki and the Hyans as our narrator continues saying, the Nomu, which will be referred to as near Hyans, were commanded to team up and evacuate distraction and disrupting strategies, as they made trouble for the heroes. Three of the near Hyan Nomus were brought down, so three of these were destroyed, but most of them survived. However, seven of them, along with Shigaraki and his people, managed to flee without trace. So there's 7 high-end Nomus out there still. So that's a pretty big sign that things are not going well. As we continue on the next page, we see Giga, we see Mr. Compress, and we see the aftermath of another fight, but we'll get into that. So Giga and Mr. Compress were apprehended. And Giga's all tied up, so he's basically out of this fight with the drugs sedative finally kicking in. And Mr. Compress, who I thought will die in this chapter, he's in medical evacuation. So yeah, so Mr. Compress could theoretically be alive. He's going to be alive, and if you like Mr. Compress, then he's not dead yet, so it could still happen. But meanwhile, we quickly cut back to the Gunga Mountain Villa. You remember the place where the former Quirk Liberation Army members were still there? As we see the aftermath of Reed Destro's fight with Edgeshot, and Edgeshot came out victorious, and Reed Destro is beaten to a pulp. And yeah, it could be a little foul, but yeah, we did have the help of Tokoyami basically cutting off Redestro's robot legs off in half. As we see also Gidan stuck in a pillar of concrete while Compress is laying on the floor with icicle shards sticking out of him. So we're not sure if Compress is dead. He's a wait and see. So Compress may be on the list of the dead. Maybe, we're not sure. As we get the other 3 panels of the 3 members of the Quark Liberation Army, with Redestro, Gidan, and Trumpet are basically arrested as well. And the other members of the Paranormal Liberation Front in attendance at the assembly. So the heroes did manage to get the rest of the Paranormal Liberation Front, so they're taken care of. And we quickly, on the next page, we cut to basically a huge camp where our heroes arrest those who arrest the Paranormal Liberation Front. So, and the dialogue continues saying, we're also captured in total 16,000, near 17,000 individuals are captured. However, Giga's rampage allowed 132 of them to escape, including the high-ranking advisors. So 132 of them did escape, so they're probably with Shigaraki at the moment as well. And also in the next panel, the dialogue says their bases scattered around the were hit too. And we also get a shot of Slide and Go, who's working for the Quirk Liberation Army members, were also arrested, and he was like the first one to be arrested from the beginning of this war arc. And the sympathizers were rounded up. As we continue on the next page, we see law enforcement officers starting a conversation with Hiro saying, "Just got word from one of the Raikyu agency trainees. Apparently, Himiko Toga got away and should still be in the area. Damn that girl. We got enough to worry about." So Toga did technically get away, and this play the situation of what's going on, and Toga being a shapeshifter, then yeah, she's totally blended into the crowd, and it's going to be very hard to find her. So she's gone for a while, and who knows what Toga's planning at this point. She's probably going to go and try and find the rest of her, to find Shigaraki again and rejoin them. Who knows? As we see an entire crumbled city with citizens saying, "Help! Help! Someone, please help! No! We need help! No way!" As we see on the next page, we see that we have a brother and sister, and while the brother's trapped under rubble, saying, "No, it hurts, brother," as the brother's kind of pinned on rubble, saying, "Get away from here, Mika. These rocks gonna fall. Save yourself. It's too risky." As we see on the next panel, we see a skyscraper starting to come down, with the brother saying, "If you get away, you can have my Endeavor pouch." "No!" as the building falls down. And we see the little sister saying, "I don't want the pouch. I just want to be with you." And before the rocks come and crush them both, we see that it's Uraraka and Froppy come in and save the day. So those two are still around, helping out as much as they can. And and Uraraka is kind of freaking out with the art panel in this is a lot different than normal. With Uraraka saying, "+1, huh?" As the expression on her face in this panel is just like, "Holy shit, I almost got crushed." As Froppy just said, "Ribbit." And I think Uraraka's saying this next part, saying, "Where's your mom and dad?" And the kids are just whining their eyes out. As Froppy interrupts, saying, "The boy's leg is hurt. I'll take him to the evac camp." As we get another person saying, wants help, saying, "Help! There's someone under here." And the little girl's just saying, "My Endeavor pouch." As Uraraka continues heading out to help that new person, saying, "I'm on my way." As we see on the next page, we see her going towards who needs help, as we see someone coming out of one of the ruins, and Uraraka sees it, and the guy says, "Ah, my wife's inside." As Uraraka says, "Hurry up, miss." And Uraraka just bursts into the building, just saying, "What apartment number?" And we go into Uraraka's in a monologue saying, "Gotta save them, as many as I can," as we see that the husband is reunited with his wife, thanks to Uraraka. As to the next panel, we see more of the carnage as more of the 1A and 1B students help out, with the heroes saying, "Hey, over here." And I think Uraraka's saying this next part, saying, "There are still lives that can be saved. There's more this way." Random firemen try to help out with the heroes of 1A and 1B, helping out, as we see more and multiple panels of them trying to help the people who needs help with Uraraka lifting things, and a lot of ramble jambles saying, "Need water. Careful, that's gonna collapse." And Uraraka saying, "Relax, you're okay now. I need some help, heroes." One saying, "Don't just stand there." As we see, we get a shot of Uraraka looking at someone, at the person she's trying to say, until one hero says, "I can't take it." As Uraraka turns around, hearing the sound, as we see a random hero just looking beyond, speechless, continuing his speech, saying, "This is too much." As we get on the next page, we get a double page spread of a basically a panel double page spread of this random hero just looking at all the carnage throughout this whole arc taking its toll on him, with random panels saying, "Mommy, I need some help, quick, the pain, Kenta, watch out, careful, why, somebody, please, how is this real? Call an ambulance, wait, hang on, ah." As we see Uraraka just looking at the person, as we see get a close-up shot on Uraraka seeing the blood, blood on her face, cheeks, part of her costume, as we see the random mercs saying, "I need a new line of work." Yeah, after this whole arc, things have gone south, and we quickly, before we get more of the dialogue, we quickly cut away to a random spot in the forest, and we see in the last panel of this page, we see, oh no. Oh god, no. We see someone holding onto a hand, and that hand is and we see a handcuff. And we know who wears a handcuff and who was basically knocked out of the fight, as we see the hand of Midnight, and someone holding her hand. Oh, please, God, don't have her dead. Oh, God. As we see the person who's holding onto those hands, Pinky, Momo, Red Riot, and Sugar Man, just looking down, bawling their eyes out, as they realize, when with the significance of Midnight's mask basically on the floor crumbled up, notifying that, yeah, Midnight is dead. It basically got killed by a rock or something far worse. As we see more of the dialogue boxes, as we get a flashback to how Shigaraki came back after getting rudely interrupted by Exless, and that's how all this shit got started. We knew that fire, the powder keg was about to go off, and this is that powder keg finally after going off, with the dialogue box saying, "Shigaraki had truly died. His rebirth was cut short the moment the equipment was destroyed. That slight zap of electricity, which the nearby Exless didn't even feel himself, wasn't enough to revive Shigaraki. No, what brought him back to life was his dream and his hatred." So, yeah, metaphorically, yeah, his impotent rage against hero society basically resurrected, and he's just the hammer, bringing the hammer down on hero society. As we see, oh god, we see a full page on the next page of all the heroes that died throughout this arc, as the text continues saying, "Shigaraki's singular ambition, obsession, cost so many lives." As we see on top of the page, we have Midnight, who died by Mr. Compressed hitting a rock while trying to stop Giga using her pheromones. Basically took her out of the fight, and we did see that random gas villain showing up, and I can only assume the worst, but I'm not gonna say it. Either the villain just basically, killed her off, just breaking her neck or something, and then, or I can only think of one other thing, but I rather not say because that's getting into a very sensitive topic. And then, killing her. That I rather not say. We have Crust, who died by being disintegrated by Shigaraki after his heroic sacrifice to save Aizawa from being disintegrated himself. So Crust is dead. We saw that. We see Majestic, who was helping with Momo at this time. He's dead, probably assumedly crushed by Giga after he joined into the fight. Exless, who was basically the first victim of being disintegrated by Shigaraki. We see also other heroes that we have seen throughout the war arc. We see a random hero, a couple of like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Basically 11 random heroes also on the corpse pile. One hero we already saw dead because of twice before his death killed someone else by stabbing that person with a knife. And also another hero who was basically killed by Toga during her shapeshifting into that hero who died previously by twice in a blood rage. As we see another hero that we should have known, the one that looks like who's got a awesome dragon skull for a head, who was basically in the sports festival saying about how he said that oh god, I know who that hero is, the one from the sports festival talking about oh yeah, he's dead too. And but meanwhile, the text continues with meanwhile. As we quickly cut over to another area, we see, oh god, some of the fans of Endeavor, with this one random person talking to a polar bear guy saying, well, dang, it's all over, huh? As we said, as the people start talking about the Endeavor slandering, getting his name dragged through the mud, with some of them saying, that Dobby dude totally sucks, but what's old Indy gonna do now? Do you think it's all true? If so, that's awful. As we see the people starting talking bad about Endeavor, and yeah, Endeavor's name is basically all of his crimes is basically exposed. The stuff he did to the Todoroki household and abuse has finally gone out and making Dobby in the first place, with people saying, ever since his days as number 2, I had a feeling something shady was going on behind the scenes. Chatter, chatter. Isn't it his job to protect us? What's going on now? So yeah, and even if Endeavor wakes up after getting bandaged up, he's got a lot to address, and there's going to be a lot of talks about this. So Endeavor may be facing some serious crimes here with his crimes exposed here. And we quickly, onto the next page, we quickly cut to Midoriya, who's basically on a stretcher taking to the hospital, also with Endeavor as well. And with the people talking, continues saying, maybe this time it's all over. Let's move abroad. We don't have the money. He better have a statement ready about all this tomorrow. And some of them are probably trying to get away from Japan, so basically Japan's basically fucked in the ass, with Shigaraki basically terrorizing this whole country and thinking about going to America or to Canada or something like that. Do you think we're going to be okay? As we quickly cut to the 2 kids that were during the whole um, joint exam, with the 2 kids saying, sure, I mean, think about it. We got 5 weenies and those guys looking out for us, so they think things may be okay for a bit. But meanwhile, the trouble does not end. That on the next page, we quickly have the dialogue box saying, that night, as we get a shot at an all too familiar place, we have Tartarus, as a storm is brewing. As we go inside the Tartarus, we see All for One still tied up And he's just thinking to himself, saying, I can feel it. My expectations were a bit off, but it won't be long now. As we quickly cut away to Shigaraki's remaining crew with Spinner and Dobby, and also who's not in the panel, that Skeptic is not in the panel, but don't worry, Horikoshi will bring it up in probably future volumes, probably correcting that issue. And before you start, yes, I know that Midoriya basically unlocked a new power, which is basically Spidey Sense, but technically he didn't. It only came as the same way as Black Whip, so I'm not going to do the joke until when he's doing it properly, so that's when I'll do the joke then. As we see for the next 3 panels, it's Shigaraki talking, and his dialogue text is a lot different, and it matches a completely different person now, and that is All For One speaking through Shigaraki's body, saying, why do they assume tomorrow will come for them? No, I won't grant them a moment's rest, because it is my turn now, and my turn will never end. Hear me, my tireless Nomu, as the swarm of the remaining 7 high-end Nomus surround Shigaraki. We see that All For One possessing Shigaraki continues his speech. And I think we can tell that it is All For One because we do see part of his face in the art. And we've seen like a lot of the art metaphor of All For One going through the cracks of Shigaraki and metaphorically saying that All For One is in control. And implied that right now All For One is still in control for the moment, saying, it's time to free my real body. And that implies that Shigaraki, All For One who's possessing Shigaraki, is planning to go to Tartarus and break out the real All For One out of prison. And people has been asking for this arc to occur, so we're finally basically getting a prison break arc is being set up. So yeah, Prison Break is on the bound for this year, implying that. And the next chapter will not hit until January 17th, so next week we will get our next chapter of chapter 297. So yeah, this chapter, basically, like I said, the aftermath of the war arc, we get little dialogue saying that, yeah, the world is not going to be okay after this whole war arc disaster. And Shigaraki, and All For One, who's in control of Shigaraki, is planning to break his real body out of prison. So we're basically getting set up for a prison break arc is going to get set up. So when that does happen, I would love to see like certain characters who are in we do know like some villains are in prison. We do know that Giga, Mr. Compress, we know those two are in prison. We have Reed Destro, Trumpet, and all the Paranormal Liberation Front who are in prison right now. But we mustn't also forget that, yeah, Stain is in there. We know that a lot of past villains are still in there. And I would love for when this prison break goes down as we get like I don't think we're not going to get any of the 1A and 1B heroes involved. I would like to see like some villains may disagree with Shigaraki trying to break out and they just like screw this. We're basically getting a suicide squad to try to get this prison back under control. And I would like to see some heroes try to help some villains who are locked up try to quell this whole prison break, and some of them we do know there's like 1 or 2 villains who may not like to get out of prison, and they may just like no, we do not want to be set free. I don't know if Gentle Criminal is in there. I would love to see Gentle show up again and try to quell the prison break, and I'll probably go nuts if that ever happens. But it might not happen, so until then, I will see you all for chapter 297. So until then, have a good day, everybody, and I will see you next time. So this is Joe saying bye for now.